Welcome to the Week in Italian Startup, where we discuss the latest highlights happening in the Italian tech and investment ecosystem. The trend with MedTech in Italy is still dominating and setting the tone of the ecosystem. So we've seen a few rounds, but the MedTech and biotech are still under there and moving pretty quick. So let's get started by talking about medical Microinstruments, MedTech company, raising 110 million in a Series C round led by Fidelity Management and Research. So essentially, the company was funded back in 2015 near Pisa by experts in robotic and surgery. And essentially, they trademarked a robot called the C-Money surgical system, which essentially is specializing in everything that is basically includes micro instrument for surgery, tremor reducing and motion scaling technologies. So very interesting because apparently it's one of the smallest in the world for microsurgery. So definitely a very notable characteristic. Round is huge. The guys basically started with a seed round of a couple of million, scaling quickly to a Series A of 25. And now we are, fast forward, a Series C at 110. Great Italian investors, I would say, participated back in the days, including Panacas Venture, one of the big in medtech and biotech in Italy. So definitely a great round. What's your take on this one?
No, I agree with you. A very important round for the ecosystem, and another proof that in medtech in Italy we have things to say on the market on the international scale, and that our research centers are at the end of the day they're working well. The company was funded in Pisa, even though now this is a dual company, if I get it right. So it's basically a US corporation, but the core team, the management is still based out of Pisa. So this is probably a classic example in the life science and medtech space where things are more mature, where dual companies such as this one are more common and well understood by the investment community. And the other interesting thing is about the lead investor. I don't know whether you probably made your research. I was taking a look around about Fidelity Management and Research Company, and I found a fact sheet on the web, on the fidelity.com website, and says that uh, Fidelity Management and Research Company is the investment advisor to Fidelity's family of mutual funds. And so basically, they are overlooking like 681 billion dollars of capital across like 283 funds. The question is, where did they invest from? One of the funds, or was actually the company? So this is something that is not clear to me, and it's not in the news that I read. Just quick question.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, the brand is one of the huge in the world when it comes for as you were mentioning. So Fidelity is definitely active in many sector. Interesting to see exactly how organized the effort in VC is in this respect. So not sure actually about it, but that's definitely a great point. And yeah, I mean, being a US based company, it's interesting because again we have a interesting foreign investor investing in Italian founders. So that's something that we keep discussing and we want to see more of. And this is a great example of it. So yeah, people are watching, and people are ready to move. And this is another example of what's happening in the market. So yeah, hope is there for sure.
Agreed.
Awesome. So let's talk about Superfluid. Very interesting deal. Ethereum-based token streaming protocol, raising 5.1 million in a round led by Fabric Ventures. So Superfluid, and then I mean I'll let you Nick talk about the product exactly, but just to give a little insight about the funding history, they raised 9 million in seed funding in 2021. Very interestingly, of course, they at keep at it. They're still surviving. Unfortunately, this is a down round, but still, the good news is that they are very much working on Web3, and what is basically remaining of Web3 right now, and where people are probably going to invest in the future. A notable investor that we need to mention is Fabric Ventures, which essentially has been investing in Web3 and blockchain since really the big beginning of Web3 and blockchain. And as I was mentioning to you, they just kept doing investment in the blockchain, not on the spot under the spotlight, but they recently closed other rounds in late 2023, and I'm sure this year they're going to keep investing. So these are probably some of the few that are still like trying to support the market and see an opportunity in Web3 technology.
Yeah, I agree with you, of course. Even though I'm not sure it is a down round, we know it's a round with a lower amount raised. And from the article that I found that I read, it seems that it's basically a top up to the seed round. So maybe there is not really a pure down round, but just a continuity with respect to the previous one. And since it was in 2021, that makes me think that it was already a generous round in terms of valuation because do you remember 2021 is like 100 years ago uh,
That's insane.
in the
That's
crypto
really
space?
insane.
Uh,
It feels like 100 years ago. It's insane. In the blockchain and Web3 space, it's the Cretaceous period, and now
mhm.
is we're like fast forward thousands of years. It's insane.
Exactly, exactly. And
Yeah.
then curious about what's gonna happen in the next 24 months because Bitcoin is picking up in terms of price. The ETF, the
Yeah.
Bitcoin ETF, probably has had some kind of impact. There's movement in the market, and that might bring to pick up again of investments in the blockchain ecosystem. I wonder what will be the focus in this wave. Maybe it will be finally real infrastructure such as Superfluid. Um, I don't know. We will see. And I mentioned Superfluid in the newsletter, even though it is not an Italian company, but it is funded by two Italians. First of all, so I think it's really worth mentioning that we have players doing interesting things in the vertical in the market, and what they're doing is fascinating in a sense. Basically, if you think about payments, you pay anything in bulk. You purchase a bottle of water and you pay for the bottle of water. You purchase a service, you pay for the service at the end or in installments during the execution of a service. What if you could purchase things in a continuous stream? So having basically a second base or pure consumption based, but real consumption based payment and accounting of the payment. And that's what they're doing. An infrastructure that allows you to pay as in the flow, not as in the bulk. And I find it fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, it's stretching the concept of payment itself. It's really philosophical. I mean, it's not. It's just taking that conception and moving it to a different levels with a different like way of thinking about it. So that's
Yeah,
fascinating. I agree.
think about the future of work. When you have a very loose type of possible relationship between people and employers and so on and so forth. You get paid as you do things by the minute. That could be one possible, of course, utopian but interesting outcome of having this infrastructure in place. But that's
Very
I
interesting.
don't, I don't know. I don't know. I always found it fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
It's kind of a Newton Leibniz way of thinking about payments when they invented calculus. So basically, they're taking the derivative or the partial derivative of work of the function work, and you
Exactly.
get paid about it.
You really are a nerd, first of all. So, but still, absolutely, exactly that one. Yes.
Indeed, my friend. Indeed, very interesting for sure. Awesome. All right. Yeah. One other thing that I was noticing is that Fabric Ventures has actually like some major portfolio companies such as Coinbase, such as Sorare. So these guys have been very much like into the space and managed to actually enter some of the major deals. So definitely they're in a good spot. They're definitely in a good spot with good investors, I would say. So that's to remark. All right, talking about 3DNextech, digital manufacturing startup raising 1.5 million in a round led by Eureka Venture. So basically, what they're doing in 3D Next Tech is essentially trying to bring the 3D printing protocols and manufacturing to a different level. Basically, the standard problem with 3D manufacturing, depending on polymer, metals, no matter what it is the kind of the grainy consistency of the final product. These guys have been trying to be as precise as possible and finding a way to actually smoothen up the product, the final product, in a way that is actually like paintable, meaning like usable in a perfect production line. And if you think about the future about that, it's really like a perfectly on-demand manufacturing with a finished product and not like a prototype. So that's a very very interesting vision.
Yeah, agree with you. Interesting vision. A deal that's, I would say, I'm not surprised at all. It is led by Eureka Ventures. They focus on new materials, and this is probably a new process to handle materials, and it might very well open up new use cases for the additive manufacturing industry. So, very interesting proposition.
Yeah, it's an interesting angle because they're taking the 0 kilometer manufacturing. So there was the zero produce like a deal like years ago. Now is the 0 kilometer like manufacturing processes, and this is definitely part of that ecosystem and that future infrastructure. So that's definitely interesting.
Yeah, in a sense, they allow a user to have a less precise printer uh, because you have a tool after the printer that you can smoothen up the surface and make it, you know, really finished. So there are interesting implications if this technology actually becomes mainstream. So.
Yeah. And what is also curious is that it's one of the probably like more one of the notable investment of the robotic CDP like part. So CDP has a particular compartment investing in robotics, and basically part of the investment comes from that side. So it's interesting to see, as we mentioned many times, it's going to be interesting to see how exactly CDP's portfolio companies are gonna burst or bust. So yeah, that's well, this is hopefully like a great example, and I'm sure it will. So that's particularly interesting. All right, talking then. So yeah, interestingly, a few companies have been acquiring other startups in basically a trend of mid to big size startup slash scale up company growing by acquisition. So we have three great examples. So basically, last week, Jackal acquiring Gotchu, Shopfully acquiring Offertia, and Revo acquiring Itnet. So different companies with different like value proposition, of course. What is notable is definitely the pattern that is forming, and we have seen that with the bigger deals, starting from Bending Spoon even, but also for like a more like other sector and with other size of companies. Then the trend is there, the pattern is there, and it's working even at a different scale. So definitely it's something that not only like big companies have access to, but growth by acquisition is a reality in startup land, 100%.
Mhm. Agreed.
All right. Nick, I think your tracker is pointing toward the right direction. So we have a nice, curvature with the index is trailing between 2021 and 2022 numbers. So good news. Well, it's early again, but definitely like significant. So yeah, maybe this year the direction is going to be, well, hopefully better than last year, which I'm pretty sure it will. But let's see how we're gonna end up then.
Yeah, as always, uh, we are starving for real Series B, Series C rounds. So it's good to see MMI raising a Series C with potential investors. I added bending spoon to my tracker, even though bending spoons sits a bit in between something that can be seen as venture capital and something that should be seen as private equity. But still, as we already spoke about, this is, I think, is a signal that a product company in Italy can and should raise important international capital to grow. Um, we need many more rounds such as those ones. Uh, so we see. In order to do better than last year, we need probably at least another two, three. Uh, and really looking forward to seeing them.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. All right, so this concludes this week's episode of the Week in Italian Startup. We hope you find these updates insightful. Remember to subscribe to our channel, to Nick's newsletter, to every single social media. And thanks for joining us today. Until next time.
Thank you, Jack. Ciao, everybody. Shall we remind that we just published the special episode about Pandas AI with Gabriele Venturi? Something really worth listening. So please,
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
go
Good
to
point. So this is
Giacomo's YouTube channel and listen to the conversation. It's extremely interesting.
That's extremely insightful, but it was registered in October. It was recorded in October 23, and AI is taking a turn. And with Nick and Gabriele, we think it's already old somehow. There are parts which are already old. So definitely the AI part is going to be tough and interesting at the same time to keep track of, but we'll do definitely our best. But yeah, check out the episode. We dig deeper into Pandas AI, in particular with the founder, the new trends, open source model, different like kind of models. Very very interesting like conversation, I would say, and I'm sure we're gonna have like more coming up this year, especially in that vertical. So yeah, people that didn't listen to that, please go YouTube, Spotify, you'll find it. Awesome. Well, Nick, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jack. Ciao, everybody. See you in a week.
Bye bye.